everybody, and welcome to another edition of Inside the Pick 10. Hope everybody had a great Labor Day weekend. I know there's a lot of college football going on, and now we had the NFL cranking up as well. Stephen Reichel unable to join us tonight, dealing with some technical issues. I'm sure he'll get those worked out hopefully by Thursday night so we can do the professor and the pupil. With that said, we have an unbelievable crew tonight. We really do. Off to my right, we have Tom Shanahan. Welcome back, Tom.
How you doing?
All right, we got Candy Ebling.
Always good to be here, Scott.
And I have three players and three players as good as they get. Mel Farr Jr., welcome back, Mel.
Hey, great to be back.
And Ben, we miss you in the hat and the candor. Welcome back, Mr. Troop.
Man, been too long. It's good to see everybody, man. Let's get this thing on.
Oh, we're going to get it going after Marvin Paul says hello, and we got a lot to go. Right, Marvin?
How about them USC Trojans putting up 73 points?
Give you the
Who they play? Who they play?
73
Who they play? But who do they play?
Huh?
Oh, okay.
They played a team pick to finish last in Conference USA.
Come on, Tom.
Oh, well, that's what happens the first few weeks of the season. So you'll have a few. Don't worry, this weekend, Candy and I will have one of those in Miami. It takes on Bethune-Cookman, who, by the way, gave up 41 points from Florida International University. Unbelievable. We have a big show lined up, so let's get to it. Glad to have the group here. And you know what? We're going to start out with a guy who's been around the game a long, long time. His name is Tom Moore, who's in his 46th season. And, he obviously mentored Peyton Manning, and he began his career in the NFL in 1977 with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Well, we'll go to Tommy Shanahan. What are your thoughts about Tom Moore?
Yeah, he was recently honored by the Pro Football Hall of Fame or the NFL Awards of Excellence. That's something that they started recently to recognize these guys that have been long-time influential assistant coaches. They're kind of behind the scenes, though, because they were never a head coach, never got the attention that they might otherwise deserve. Tony Dungy's right-hand man. And I just know a lot about that NFL Awards of Excellence because Jimmy Ray was in the inaugural class in 2022, then Sherman Lewis in 2023. And I think that same year, Tom Moore was honored by the NFL.
Candy?
Let's not forget where he started his NFL career. He played for the Green Bay Packers from 1960 to 1965, and he was Mel's favorite, a running back. Awesome.
Well, let's transition to the running back, Mel Farr. Some thoughts about Tom Moore.
Yeah, Tom, obviously he's had a great career, a long career. It's kind of like, was that Tex Winter for Phil Jackson? I mean, he was that guy that was behind the scene. He really allowed Tony Dungy to do his thing on the defensive side of the ball. You hear a lot now about these pundits talking about coaches and how they like their coaches to be offensive minded, particularly when you have a young quarterback. Because there's a couple reasons why they say it. I don't necessarily agree with it. Tony Dungy went out and got a great mind on the offensive side of the ball, allowed him to do his thing on that side, and then let Tony do his thing, let him take care of the defense and also manage the team. And I think that worked out well. I don't know, why he never had an opportunity, and I don't know why he never got an opportunity to become a head coach, but, that worked out well. And I don't think Peyton Manning would have had the career if it had not been for Tom Moore. So I think he obviously he owes him a huge debt of gratitude. But to be 46 years, what is he? Is he like a consultant now, or is he still a position type coach or a coordinator?
He's a consultant now, yeah. Since 2019.
He's got a lot of knowledge. I mean, he's got a lot of knowledge. I mean, he can help any program on the offensive side of the ball without question.
No, I'm guessing he never really wanted to be a head coach because I can't think of stories where he felt snubbed. I know that was the case with Ernie Zampese, great offensive coordinator. Anytime he got mentioned to be a head coach, he didn't want to be a head coach.
Yeah, Ernie was my offensive coordinator when I was with the Rams. great offensive mind, without question.
Turn
He's
over to
got the headaches of being a head coach.
Ben.
I mean, 46 years and anything professionally is I mean, you talk about being the rarest of the rare. Tom Moore, it seems to be one of those guys that I'm not saying he didn't want to be a head coach, but he know what he did well. Like, look, man, I know what I do. How many times have we said this guy could coach offense, this guy could coach defense? He might not be that good of a head coach. He know what he does well. I mean, I agree. When you talk about a guy like we talk about a guy like Peyton Manning, how much did a guy like that who's seen so much in the game? I mean, he coached Terry Bradshaw. I mean, that's for super dupers. That's Lance Swan. That's Starworth. That's Frank O'Hara. So he had seen Peyton Manning well before Peyton Manning, as far as like, I mean, this is what it takes to win. You talk about Carson Palmer when he was with the Cardinals. You talk about Tom Brady when he was with the Bucks. Tom Moore can really say, I've seen it all and done it all. Literally, I've seen the NFL go from a running league to a passing league, from coverage by John Madden to, John Gruden covering games. Pre-social media, post-social media. Tom Moore has done it all, and like I said, 46 years, and he's still in it. As my fellow brothers in the NFL know, they trying to get rid of you, whether you're a coach or a player. It's all the time. They trying to find a way to X you out. They trying to find a way. Hey, Tom, you're to be able to adjust to that many players, that many styles, that many eras. That's what I give him the most credit for, because the hardest thing for any coach to do is to adjust. I mean, this is how I win. This is how I coach. Tom was like, well, this worked when I was with the Pittsburgh Steelers. This is going to work when I'm with the Colts. Okay, this is going to work when I'm with the Bucks. This is going to work when I'm with, all these different teams, Minnesota and all these different teams. So congratulations to him. I mean, if you in your 80s and you still working in a professional, football league, he's doing it. And like I said, I'm not envious of him. I'm just saying he is the GOAT. People talk about Tom Brady and all them. 46 years, different teams. Tom Moore is the GOAT. And like I said, to do anything at the level that he's done it with the quarterbacks and teams that he's done it on, legendary players and coaches and teams. Congratulations to Tom Moore. I don't think you're going to see him again. Just like people talk about, Tom Brady and his numbers, or a Cal Ripken Jr. and his starts, or a Nolan Ryan and his strikeouts. Tom Moore should be mentioned in that 46 years, and I'm still currently getting NFL checks. Congratulations, sir. No doubt.
Great stuff. Boy, I know there's the reason why we missed you. Your candor and your energy is contagious. All right, we'll turn over to Marvin. We got a lot. Good, great start, Ben Troop, and that hat. Did we ever miss that? Eddie Prather, welcome to the chat room. Yes, we got a good group tonight. How you doing? Tom Moore still in the collecting like 10 cent and NBA check. Go ahead, Marvin.
Yeah, Ben's a tough act to follow, no doubt. But listen, Tom did what is so hard in any industry. He stayed relevant, as things change, as times change, as we went from paper to digital. This guy stayed relevant as the outside world changed, and you don't see that anymore. You don't see that commitment to industry. You don't see that. So to look at him, he's walking history. Tom knows where all the dead bodies are. Tom's been there, through all the civil rights, through everything. He's been there. So it's awesome to see him. I think he represents the old school in a very good way. And when you look at his name, it's attached to greatness, throughout the generation. So that speaks volumes to who he really is. His resume says it all. His longevity says it all. And again, just staying relevant says it all.
He even made his way up to Detroit, and I saw him coach for the Detroit Lions when they were playing at the Pontiac Silverdome. This guy, I can't imagine how many stadiums he's coached, and it is surreal. So let's go on to the NFL. They've actually paused. They paused their London game ticket sales. Get this, because there's 250,000 people in the queue. Get that, 250,000 in the queue, and they paused their ticket sales. So does that say a lot about the popularity of the game, Ben, in London?
I mean, it does. It does. I mean, the NFL is very, structured in how they go about doing things, and they're only going to tell us, being able to halt ticket sales in London just shows that the popularity of the game is growing. And because London doesn't have one set team, you know, you're gonna have a bunch of different jerseys over there. I mean, they just gonna be cheering. It's gonna be cheering and boos, you know, the entire game. I mean, the NFL, like I said, it's not lacking. What's the number they're trying to get you this year? What, 25 billion or something like that they want to make this year? A lot of that has to do with international sales. So the fact that they halting it, I mean, they must be doing something right. But when it comes to the league, I thought that fantasy football is all they needed to do. But when you add the international flair to it, and they halting stuff. Hey, who's ever in the ticket sale office? I mean, they probably, you know, I'm not saying they get a night off or a day off, but they ain't mad at the fact they halting these sales. But shout out to the league, man. They finding a way to. But I remember when I was, you know, coming to the tail end of my career and they were talking about having games overseas. I was like, that's not gonna work. Now they opening the season with them. Hey, man, shout out to the league, man. They doing something right.
250,000 people in the queue. Well, Marvin, you do get to follow that because that's incredible. I think we've given you plenty here of going second here to talk about this one. This is just surreal with those numbers.
Listen, Roger Goodell is about making money, and he's done that. And he's done a phenomenal job in growing this game. I mean, it's an amazing game. And, you know, they've had many attempts to try to do something successfully overseas. When you look at it, this is probably their most successful venture, having just the international games versus NFL Europe or anything else like that. So, you know, what you're seeing is the demand is real. You know, football is growing, and the more you give it to people, the more people want it. And it's, you know, it's going to be interesting to see where this really goes and how soon until the inevitable, which is us having a team in another country. It's happening. I mean, it's going to happen. It's inevitable. So that this is what this is preparing us for. And football is just getting started in regards to what it's going to do revenue wise. I think as we get into the digital age, you're going to see a whole nother level of making money, and I'm excited about it.
Mel?
Yeah, I mean, I think the NFL, they want to be the first one. You know, I know basketball, they have their teams up in Canada. Baseball has their teams up in Canada, but I do really believe that football wants to be the first one to have another team on another continent, and I think that they want to be first to do it. You know, I've talked about before how the NFL is so popular and what Roger Goodell has done to grow this league and to grow the revenue. I forgot what the revenue they said where the revenue is right now for the NFL now, but it's just growing exponentially. It's just unbelievable growth that they're achieving, and they know they can only grow so much here domestically, and they have to take this international. And so, you know, they started out with the preseason games a long time ago where they had them over across the pond. And now you see that they've been doing regular season games. And like Marvin says, it's only a matter of time before they have a team stationed over in Europe.
Tommy?
Yeah, I don't know what I can add to that. We always thought of it as just a novelty act over there. It is remarkable. It's hard to digest the ticket demand.
Right.
It's come so fast. It just wasn't that long ago that it was a novelty.
Candy?
So what was the number that you put out there, Scott?
250,000 is what I had my last calculations, unless there's even more now.
What? Are on a wait list or what?
Yeah, in the queue, Candy.
So that just kind of reminds me of how popular the Packers are, because the Packers have 150,000 people on their wait list for season tickets. So right. Which is a 30 to 50 year window before they'll actually get tickets. So now that over in London, hey, Roger Goodell is smart. Marketing smartness. He's developed it better than any of the other leagues. And why not over in London? You know, he's got an owner, Shad Khan, who's got the stadium over there. That's how they really started this. Right. Like they've said before long, you're going to have a team over there.
I did read where they think that some of those 250,000 people are spam and hackers and other people who are trying to get all the tickets so they can resell them, and that was a part of the issue they had. Just who was actually, you know, on that list. But yeah.
Well, the only thing I'll say about it is this: the Jacksonville Jaguars had a lot to do with this too, because let's face the reality. not only were they able to make their money to be profitable all year because of the London game, but somebody had to go. Some team had to go out and do it, like the Lions did on Thanksgiving, and the Jaguars. I feel that have attributed a lot to that international growth, but 250,000. Where it's coming from, I don't know, but that's the last count that we have. You never know these days, but I'm telling you one thing. Candy and I recently came from London, and I can see how they would be mad about the NFL. We never made it to Wembley Stadium, but the numbers are what they are in terms of ratings and so forth. It's just surreal about the international growth all across the board. So let's go over to continue with college football. As the College Football Hall of Fame has adjusted its eligibility criteria to lower its win percentage from 60% to 59.5%. Mike Smith is eligible for 2027, but they're not giving Howard Schnellberger any slack. What are your thoughts about, Tommy, the College Football Hall of Fame adjusting the requirements for coaches?
Well, I think it makes sense when you're talking about a guy like Mike Leach. He was like 1 win short or something like that.
Right.
So it didn't make any sense to have a hard and fast rule to keep someone as influential as him out of there. I don't know what the story is on Schnellenberger.
Too many rebuilding jobs. That's all. He built too many rebuilding jobs.
It kind of reminds me of Roberto Clemente. They didn't wait 5 years to put him in after his death. Sometimes you have to make an exception.
Mel?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, sometimes you have to make an exception for exceptional people. You look at even Gale Sayers. His career was cut short because of injuries. And he made it into the Hall of Fame. I like Howard Schnellenberger, what he did for the game of football, taking programs that nobody heard of and made them relevant. With the University of Miami and then going to Louisville. I'm like, why would we go to Louisville? I mean, and he made that program relevant. So, what he did for the game for the game of college football, nobody else could have done. And you really can't talk about it. When you talk about a Hall of Famer, they always talk about, well, can you write the story of college football without mentioning that person's name? And if you can't do it without mentioning that person's name, then they're, probably a Hall of Famer. Well, I don't think you can talk about college football because you certainly can't talk about the University of Miami without bringing up Howard Schnellenberger. You can't talk about University of Louisville without bringing up his name because those programs were nothing before he got there. So, I mean, rules are sometimes made to be broken. Sometimes they need to be a little flexible on it. I remember when Reggie White passed away, they wanted to, their family asked if they could waive the 5-year waiting rule so that he could get in the Hall of Fame. The NFL was pretty stringent on that and didn't do it. Obviously, he was the first ballot Hall of Famer, but he had to wait the necessary 5-year waiting period. But sometimes, for exceptional people, you do have to make exceptions.
And FAU football, obviously, he built it from the ground up. All right, Marvin.
Yeah, it's all about impact. And there are people who have had tremendous impact on the game who don't have numbers, who don't have stats, who weren't doing a whole lot of interviews or whatever it may be. So I think in situations where you have those kind of individuals, the Hall of Fame should absolutely have exception. And Mike Leach, I mean, absolutely. I think he already has his own little coaching tree of guys out there. I know Lincoln Riley is Mike Leach coaching tree. So yeah, it makes sense, and it's good for the game, and it's good for the fans. Very positive thing that happened.
Okay, Ben.
Yeah, I mean, I like these adjustments. I mean, I don't like the fact that they wait on people to move on to make these adjustments. I don't like stuff like that. I mean, real similar to the Pete Rose stuff. These people have done. Everybody's not going to win national championships. That doesn't mean that their impact to the game is not just as big or as big as those that did. And while I think it's great for guys like Mike Leach, I want to make sure that we do this as well for the players. There are going to be a bunch of players that because of these crazy criteria, they won't get in the College Football Hall of Fame. And they're some of the best you ever seen. So while I'm in favor of the coaches, which I am, I'm also in favor of the guys that was actually out there on the grass. Love it for the coaches. Make sure you trickle down to the players, because when you look at this list that won't get to make it because of when they played or who made a first-team All-American compared to them, that's a bigger travesty than these coaches. The coaches are rare. the players are just as rare. So I'm in favor of that for the coaches. Just make sure it trickles down to the players as well.
Candy?
This past weekend on Inside and on Talking Baseball, Scott, you had Coach Jim Riggleman on there, and he talked about how some of these coaches and players for baseball, because they've made an impact to the game, belong in the Hall of Fame, and they might not be because their careers were cut short. It's the same for football. You know, if you had a big impact, Mel, not only did Howard do Miami, he's the whole reason FAU has a football program.
Right.
He started it from scratch. They have a stadium now on their campus, and there are some other state schools that don't even have a stadium. Miami doesn't have their stadium on their campus. He built that, so he had such an impact. Sometimes these rules need to be broken for the people that truly deserve them.
Good. Going back to what Ben said about being an All-American, you know who's not in the College Football Hall of Fame for that reason, but he's in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Joe Namath.
Really?
That? Yeah.
Oh wow!
Let me add this about Howard too. I just heard Mike Archer. He spoke at the Raleigh Sports Club here. I don't know if any of you guys ever played with Mike Archer. He was in the NFL for a while, and he was at Miami before Schnellenberger, and he said they would only get 10,000 a game. It wasn't until Howard came there, and then he started winning, started selling out the Orange Bowl. That's pretty amazing too. I didn't know that.
Well, that program was in dire straits for sure. Yeah, Eddie Prater brings up a point that Leach bringing in the air raid makes him a Hall of Famer. There's no question about it. That air raid offense, that's called innovation 101.
It was the same thing with Don Coryell. They kept him out of the Pro Football Hall of Fame because he wasn't in a Super Bowl, and then he finally got in.
Who's this?
Don Coryell.
Oh, Don really? I didn't know that either.
Passing at college and the pro level.
Unbelievable. All right, well, we're going to take we're going to Las Vegas for a moment, and we're going to talk about last chance University of College Football. UNLV, get this. Okay, brings in tons of former top recruits to their program. Among those include Michigan quarterback Alex Orji. Then you have Justin Flo, the linebacker out of Arizona, Jake Pope out of Alabama and the University of Georgia. And then you have a 4-star in Coy Moore. I mean, that's just unbelievable. And then keep it going. JoJo Early, a 4-star out of Alabama. Denver Harris, a 5-star out of, I believe, a cornerback out of Texas A&M. Coach Dan Mullen, who was fired by Florida, is now the man running the show. And UNLV is 2-0. They defeated the Idaho State Bengals 38-31 on Saturday, and then prior to that, they won at Sam Houston 38-31. So when you look at it, all these 4-stars, and you're getting them from the Southeastern Conference, where Dan Mullen knows how to recruit. So again, I look at Justin Flo out of a cornerback out of Arizona, not considered a powerhouse, but then you got Pope out of Alabama. I mean, this list is unbelievable. So Ben, I'll let you lead off with this because he's a Florida guy anyhow. Dan Mullen, you think he's going to be the guy that gets UNLV on the right track? I mean, all these players are pretty impressive stuff.
I mean, I hope so. I mean, him having Florida ties and obviously, Mississippi State ties, he definitely understands. Those are two big areas to be able to go in and plug guys from. And Dan Mullen is still a big name. The only problem I have with Dan Mullen is Dan Mullen be trying to do two things at once. I've heard that he's trying to be in the booth and coach. He's trying to, be in the booth during the week and on his off week. I don't think he can do that. And this is why. If a player was trying to do that, people would be all over that guy. If he was trying to have a podcast and all this, so if the players can't do it, The coaches can't do it. Obviously, Dan Mullen did incredible things at Mississippi State and at Florida. Was in the booth for a year. Now he get to be back in college football. Just coach a team. And the reason why I keep saying this is this: a guy like Dan Mullen is an offensive. He's an offensive mind. This guy understands offense, and obviously because of his name, he get to have a bunch of these former 4-stars at all these other schools. 2-0, UNLV is always going to be that team scratching and clawing to staying nationally relevant. With having a big name like Dan Mullen helps. If Dan Mullen is on the sideline and not trying to be in the analyst booth, I'm good with it. Because when that came out after week 1, I'm like, how you gonna do that? How you gonna be trying to call games during the week and trying to be in the booth on your off week? Man, just coach football. You're making plenty of money. Just do that. Those players deserve your full, undivided attention. Not watching you on during the week, trying to be in the booth and then on Saturday trying to coach games.
Yeah, I mean, it really is unbelievable. And I want, before I turn over to you, Marvin, I got to go with this list again because it's that impressive. Alex Orji gets a chance to be the number 1 guy at UNLV. I talked about Justin Flo, the linebacker out of Arizona. You go into a place like that where there's so many holes, and then you're getting SEC caliber guys. Jake Bope, the Alabama, and UGA, a 4-star guy. That to me speaks volumes. And then what do you go back? Coy Moore, you go to LSU. That isn't good enough. Let's go back to Alabama. JoJo Early, a 4-star out of there. Denver Harris comes out of Texas A&M. And then, of course, we know about Mullen. So, all right, Marvin, I had to go over that list because it just blows me away with the amount of SEC guys that are in there and add a couple Big Ten people to it. Go ahead, Marvin. I was excited about that list.
Yeah, back in the day, UNLV had their own NIL with Jerry Tarkanian and them boys. And that's the last time you saw big names go to that school. We live in the NIL day. There's money in Vegas. UNLV has their boosters. The coach is a big name, like Ben says. So between the NIL and trying to sell Vegas to an 18-year-old, it doesn't surprise me that they have big names there now at all. In regards to him trying to do multiple gigs, I think that's normal. I think that's what they do. I think in the digital world, you're taught and told to put yourself out there. It's about impressions. It's about likes. It's about hits. It's about views, And I think ultimately, he's using that platform to sell his university. So any additional media he's doing, that's just for recruiting. That's how I look at that. I think it's smart,
Okay.
And you're always trying to talk about how you're outworking everybody. The word is grind. I'm grinding. You're grinding. Who's grinding? And he's out there grinding for UNLV with big money, big checks, in a big bag, beautiful city.
All right, Mel.
Yeah, I mean, I think Deion was kind of the guy that, Deion, nobody's out there more than he is. I mean, he has multiple shows that he participates in as well as coaching. I always thought that Dan Mullen would obviously had to be a pretty good recruiter to do the things that he did at Mississippi State. I always thought he was a good coach. I mean, he was a tough out for Alabama many Saturdays. And so it doesn't surprise me that he's able to recruit, that he's able to get these players out there. And like Marvin talks about, UNLV does have some money. So now these kids are going, are they going to a place where they feel they're getting the best education? Are they going to a place where they feel they're getting the best opportunity? Or are they going to the place where they feel they're going to get the most money? I don't know. I don't know. But I know that Dan Mullen can recruit. And a lot of these kids are just looking for an opportunity to play. They were somewhere, Alex Orji, he was at the University of Michigan. Things didn't work out that well for him there. He wanted an opportunity to play. Dan Mullen said, hey, you come here, I'll give you an opportunity to play. And he jumped at it. Plus, they probably threw him a couple dollars and he jumped at it. So we just have to see how this all goes, because it doesn't always work out that well when you have a lot of, you bring in a lot of new players, because you really like leadership, you like continuity.
Right.
And it's difficult to build a team from scratch, and it's difficult to know who you can trust. I've talked about that before. I mean, coaches play the players that they can trust. And if they haven't been able to see you over a 2, 3, 4 year period of time, they don't really know, they don't know what they have. They don't know if they can trust that particular player. And I'm sure we'll hit on that more a little bit later.
Absolutely. Tommy?
Yeah, I know he's optimistic. I'm skeptical about whether they can really go very far. beyond what they are now. You just don't see programs make that big leap in this day and age. Um, Probably one of the only examples is Florida State and Bobby Bowden. He
Right.
lifted that program by taking it on the road, winning games, and then they got in the ACC. But you're not going to win many games. It's rare that you're going to win a lot of games going on the road like that. Um, I think conference affiliation still has a lot to do with it. Mississippi State probably has a bigger draw publicly, nationally, than UNLV. So I'm skeptical.
Candy.
We talk about bringing in so many new players. Well, let's look at last night who played. UNC. Bill Belichick brought in what they said 70 new players on his roster, and look at the result they had. Now, granted, they went up against a good team, but I'm just saying, like, to have that many new players at that level, it's going to take a little bit of time. It's consistency. Dan Mullen, he was given a new contract. His all-time career record is 103 wins to 61 losses. So he's proven that he can do it. He's done it at other schools. Yes, is UNLV the same or as a Gators? No, of course not. But they're going to become more relevant as he brings in more of these players and works on it. And one of the things I like about his contract is I like the contracts when they have bonuses if they make certain conference champions and the playoffs and stuff like that. So some big names over there.
Well, they'll be playing in Allegiant Stadium, home of the Las Vegas Raiders, so that at least they can sell recruits that are going to play in a great stadium. So that's a good positive thing. And I think what's important to understand with Dan Mullen is he has a good track record winning anyway. So I think that's so important. So I'm glad you brought up UNC because now we will actually transition to that. So more power to them. A lot of guys are getting fresh starts is really what they are. And no better. But the biggest thing I like about it is if UNLV can do well, and I'm hoping Nevada ultimately does well too, that they'll end up going to the Pac-12 because I think the Pac-12 could use an addition like UNLV as well as Nevada since they've lost a lot of the major California schools. So those are some things to think about, but UNLV has to get on the proper footage before we can go ahead and think that far ahead. Well, Candy, you kind of touched on it, so let's talk about last night's Monday Night College game until it starts up next week. Bill Belichick's pro debut was anything but good. But get this, on September 1st, 1991, the Dallas Cowboys beat Belichick's Cleveland Browns by a score of 26-14. Well, you know what? Same date, September 1st, 2025. What happened? The state of Texas wasn't too kind to Bill Belichick either. But this time, the TCU beat the Horned Frogs, beat them up pretty good by a score of 48-14. This is a game that features Gio Lopez. There's a $4 million NIL deal, and Max Johnson has a pretty good game as well. And I think what's interesting is I think Sonny Dykes felt that his team was disrespected in this game because all the hoopla went over to Bill Belichick. You know what, Marvin? I'm going to start with you. You get the fresh voice to begin this topic. What are your thoughts about what you saw Monday night?
Oh, can't hear you, Marvin.
All right.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, much better.
All right.
Thank you.
So it was crazy because going into this game, when all the hype with Belichick and all the ESPN stuff and all the footage and
right,
so you're watching the game. They go out there on their opening drive, I think, and they look good. That quarterback looked good, right?
Right.
And from there, it was just what they call a BTA, belt to ass. Them boys from TCU beat them on offense, defense. It was unbelievable. But what it tells you and shows you is football is a team game. There's a lot of guys out there. And, the offseason matters. Summertime matters. Spring matters. Continuity matters. Together matters, And, you can't go out there and get 70 players who are brand new, don't know each other, haven't jailed, haven't been through that fight together, and you can't expect them to come out champions, in week one. This is not going to happen. The reality is that team can get a lot better throughout the season. And Belichick, let's be honest, by the metrics say he's the best coach of all time. So, I have no doubt they'll get better. I don't know if they have the guns to really compete, but if coaching matters, which it does, I expect North Carolina to try to squeeze out maybe 4 or 5 wins, maybe. But it was bad. It was bad. Nobody was expecting that. In regards to TCU, no one's talking about them. Their coach loves that. Anytime you can find inspiration or a reason to have a chip on your shoulder, you use that. And of course, he used that, and it helped. These are still kids. These are young men, so emotions matter, feelings matter to a degree. But it was shocking to see the GOAT go out there and get beat like that on national TV when they have Michael Jordan in the building, Lawrence Taylor in the building. The Sock Mia Ham was in the building. That stadium was rocking. And after that first series on offense, you would have thought, you thinking playoffs, baby, right? But tough loss for Belichick. They will get better this year.
Ben?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think the thing about it is Bill Belichick. I mean, names don't get bigger than that, and he wanted some of that. He wanted some of that college football energy. I mean, he's done all he could do in the NFL. He said, "All right, let's see what I can do over here in college football." While I do agree with Marvin, they're gonna get better, but that's reality. Last night, Monday night was reality. If you are TCU, you saying, "Wait a minute, dude, like." Nothing against Bill Belichick, but that ain't Tom Brady running out. I mean, you got to deal with us. It's football. It's just a different brand. And if you are the last time we seen TCU on the big stage, they was in the Natty against Georgia, and that wasn't their best showing, right? So when you get all the fanfare coming from a guy like Bill Belichick, open his drive, I'm like, okay, Bill, and then TCU go, nope. It's a different world. The best players in the world play on Sunday. The best variety of football is played on Saturday, and it got ugly. I do not think that's going to be indicative of the entire season, but as humbling as football can be, it's even more humbling in college. It comes at you in waves, and like I said, I don't think Bill Belichick thought that was going to be his opening game, but as great as he is as a coach, now you got to deal with recruiting. Now you got to deal with NIL. Now you got to deal with it's not unfair advantages. It's just now he's finna go back to them boosters again. Winning consistently in college football is directly tied to NIL. And it's gonna be like that for 2025 moving forward. What happened last night was TCU saying your coming out party will not be us. Absolutely not. It's gonna be a team that should have said, oh, this is how good they can play. TCU said, not us. Not tonight. So, in the words of the great Herm Edwards, it's not. Listen, man. It's not who you play; it's how you play when you play them. And for one night, UNC picked the wrong team. And hey, look. We talking about UNC this week. They could be world beaters in week 2, but for week 1, ugly ain't even the word, man. I mean, if you turned on, you thought something was going on with your ESPN app. I'm like, is this for real? 48? Hey, it got ugly last night.
That was funny, boy. You were amazing. Yeah. I mean, you're really right. I mean, let's face the reality. You got a $4 million quarterback getting NIL money, and he wasn't even there by the end of the third quarter. I mean, $4 million for NIL. Then you got Max Johnson. Now you're going to have a quarterback controversy at Chapel Hill. All right, Mel. And let's go to Eddie Fraser. He talked about a belt weapon that I might have had when I was 2 from my mom when I needed it. I bet a lot of us back in the day had a few of those. And so we could see a reverse Nick Saban with the Miami Dolphins. Could the hoodie struggle in college like Saban did in the NFL? That's food for thought. Glad you brought that up. Mel, what are your thoughts about what took place last night?
Can't hear you, Mel.
All right, Mel.
Can't hear you.
No. All right. Well, I'm sure. Okay. I think we're probably going to get him now, right, Mel? Tell you what, let's go to Tommy, and then we'll go back to Mel. All right, Tommy, what are your thoughts about what you saw Monday night?
Yeah, I don't think there's any question that the players are being coached correctly. Did they bring in the right players? The talent evaluation seems to be the question. Mike Lombardi is an NFL guy, and he was in charge of bringing in a lot of the players. Did they bring in the right guys? They certainly didn't bring in the right quarterback. Maybe that's where they made the biggest mistake. Because if you look at that game, North Carolina struggled last year. Team. They relied on a quarterback who wasn't even there for spring football. His transfer was after spring football, and he's from South Alabama. How good is he? I don't know. TCU has an NFL prospect in a quarterback, and he's a third-year starter. So the real surprise is that it was TCU that was a 3-and-out, and North Carolina that went down for a touchdown. But if you line up those teams at their rosters, I don't think it's really that surprising. And I think the biggest lesson Belichick had to learn is they had to get a quarterback, and they didn't get one. And maybe that explains why Duke jumped on Darian Mensah and paid him $4 million, $8 million total, $4 million 2 years to get him before anybody else did. Because North Carolina was without a quarterback. They weren't confident at Max Johnson only because he was coming off such a devastating leg injury from last year. Maybe he's going to have a good season. I don't know. But I don't think there's any question about the coaching and the effort. And the other mistake Belichick made is he brought all this on himself. Well, with the $10 million contract, his son's making $1.5 million. Girlfriend. He brought all this on himself. But I think the bottom line is look at the quarterback play. It was a mismatch before they even took the field.
All right, Mel, you ready to go?
I don't know. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, now I can hear you. Go ahead. You're much better now. Thank you. So let's talk about
I don't know
Monday night.
why. Yeah, I don't know why Bill Belichick took this job, to be honest with you. I mean, he's thought of to be one of the greatest head coaches in NFL history, won 6 Super Bowls that he was the head coach. I think he won another 2 or so as an assistant coach. I don't know why he would do this because I don't think he can't win. I mean, when I say he can't win, all he's going to do is harm his legacy. I don't think he can help his legacy any. All he can do is prove really – a lot of people believe it's Tom Brady because without Tom Brady, I think his record is about 83 and 100 and something. I think he's got about a 452 winning percentage without Tom Brady. So, what I don't think he needs the money. So I don't understand why he would want to take on this challenge because the college game is much different than the pro game. This is an entirely different animals. And I understand he has ego. He has an ego, but you know what? These college coaches have pretty big egos too, and they know what they're doing, and they know this landscape. They've been out here for a long time. They've been doing this for a long time, and they're pretty good at it. And so he just really has on his back, man. He's just kind of got a bullseye on his back. I mean, guys are just going to take shots at, this is Bill Belichick. I beat Bill Belichick. He's supposed to be the greatest this and the greatest that. And just looking at him on the sidelines, I mean, he has the same demeanor that he had in the pros. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it, but at the same time, I'm thinking he's thinking to himself, man, why did I do this to myself? I mean, I had a pretty good life. He's 73 years old. He's got a nice little young girlfriend. Why not just ride off in the sunset and just do nothing? I mean, he can't need the money. I don't think he needs the money. I mean, I understand $10 million was probably difficult to turn down, but all money ain't good money.
Well, one thing, let's face the reality. I'm glad he took the job because he wouldn't break Don Shula's record. I wanted Shula's record to last forever. So I'm a little partial towards Shula. Yeah, Eddie, you're right. In Cleveland, he had a mediocre record. I think like 7-8 games below 500. Candy, go ahead.
One of the only things I can think of is he wants to join the only coaches that have coached won a Super Bowl and won a college football playoff. Jimmy Johnson, Barry Switzer, and Pete Carroll. That's the only thing I can think of he's going for, because he's done how many Super Bowls? He's won at the NFL level, which is the ultimate level to coach now in college. It's a different ball game, a different game. And so it takes different coaching. And unlike being Jerry Jones, who's the GM and almost everything in Dallas, and look at that's not doing him any good, but coaching in college is different because you got to recruit all your players. You got to coach them. You got to recruit them. You've got to get all your all your coaches in line, the ones that you want. And let's face it. Yes, he's a big name, but he didn't come to the game a year ago or how many years ago to start recruiting and to get all the big guys for NIL money. We all talk about the quarterback that he's got. He doesn't have one of the elite quarterbacks. Makes a difference. What about the rest of the team behind him? Yes, that opening drive looked great, but after that, I could have been out there and done. Well, maybe not. I'm sorry. Maybe not me, but I'm just saying.
Well, let me say one thing as I close out this topic, and that's this. I love his press conference at the end because he had to be more than one line to answer all the people he had to talk to at this media availability. Everybody knows out in New England, his answers are short. Last night, they were anything but short. All right, so we talked about Alabama earlier. We talked about a lot of the players that they've lost, and now they lost a whole lot more. They lost to Florida State. As FSU impressed me with their win over Alabama, but get this, Tommy Castellanos looked really well, in addition to the assistant coaches Gus Malzahn, Tommy Davis, and that really helped Mike Norvell so that he could just go out there and delegate. I mean, Doak Campbell looked really great, newly refurbished. They put $245 million into it with a lesser capacity and a home field advantage. Meanwhile, Kalen DeBoer is finding out what Brett Bielema and many others are finding out, that the SEC is a tough gig, and that's exactly what he has with in Alabama. They're trying to figure out their quarterback situation, and this is a tough situation, Marvin, in terms of the humble pie that Alabama's eating, and FSU has gone to 14th in the rankings, and now Alabama has dropped to 21st. Tommy Castellanos, to me, I don't have his numbers on front, but I know Candy will research them, looked awfully good. But what are your thoughts about what you saw in that upset, Marvin, with Florida State over Alabama?
I think that Castellanos and Gus Malzahn.
Oh, your audio cut out, Mel.
Marvin.
I think that Castellanos and Malzahn are a perfect marriage. This kid looked explosive in this game. And, Florida State looked like an entirely different team. They looked like Florida State 2 years ago, to be honest with you, with an even better quarterback. In regards to Kalen DeBoer, I mean, listen, on one hand, he has a $70 million buyout, which you think is a big deal. But then don't forget, Texas A&M paid Jimbo Fisher the exact same amount to walk away.
Right.
It's tough when you go from the GOAT to a good coach. And DeBoer is a good coach, but Saban is the GOAT. And we're talking about the GOAT in a day where you've had a Tom Osborne, a Pete Carroll, a Bear Bryant. He stands on their shoulders above them. DeBoer ain't that caliber dude. And now with NIL being a factor and the transfer portal, you don't have the same depth. I mean, you got to get lightning in the bottle. And I think Florida State has it with that OC and quarterback. I think Alabama fans need to get used to the Mike DeBose days, because that's what it's looking like.
Well, also, Candy, one name you forgot to mention on your list was Barry Switzer, although his was gifted to him by Jimmy Johnson. So that was one you left out. I like to kick around Barry Switzer because he didn't deserve it in the first place. So is anybody? So who else? All right. So who have we talked to so far? Who's left? We got you. All right. Well, Ben, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, Marvin kind of said it. I mean, I think sometimes, man, when people be looking at the resumes of coaches, but you got to look at who they coaching and where they coaching at. I mean, I ain't taking nothing away from UW, right? That is a long way from Alabama. That is two totally different styles of football. That's two totally different styles of fans. That's two total different styles, period. I'm not saying Coach DeBoer is not a good coach, but just because you're a good coach don't mean you fit for Alabama. That is a total, and I get it. That's going to be the hardest coaching job in football to come behind Nick Saban. I get that. But the problem with coaches is they look at momentum. They look at what you did recently and think, hey, man, you could just bring that here. No. People ask, why did Nick Saban coach the way he did? Because he know that the culture has to be rebuilt every year. You got to redo it every single year. I got to do it with different players every year. Every Heisman Trophy winner in the history of Alabama got coached under Nick Saban. None of them got coached under Bear Bryant. Every last one of them got coached under Nick Saban. That is not by coincidence. I mean, Bryce Young, Nick Saban. Derrick Henry, Nick Saban. Ingram, Nick Saban. Devonta Smith, Nick Saban, right? And I think the thing about Coach DeBoer was we said, look, he's going to be a good coach. The problem is Alabama don't want good coaches no more. They want great ones. They don't want good. Right. Most college football would be very, very happy with a good coach. Man, this guy is good. Well, I just said it. The best teams compete for conference championships and natties. And that's what Alabama wants. So losing to Florida State is not going to be the end of the world for Alabama. But Florida State rushed the field. Florida State rushed the field because last year was abysmal. That'll never happen again at Florida State, I do think. And Gus Malzahn, I love Gus Malzahn, but this is the same Gus Malzahn that said when he was at UCF, they're going to go from the big three, that being Florida, Florida State, and Miami, to the big four at UCF. After 1 year, he was gone. Now he's the offensive coordinator at Florida State, so I guess it's back to the big three again, which we know is going to be that anyway. Florida State understands this. They are good for college football, not just the ACC and one night, in Doak Campbell. And they had their way. Coach DeBoer, if he didn't realize in 2024 they ain't accepting 9-3 or 10-2, it's either going to Atlanta, winning SEC championships, competing for national championships, or $70 million is a lot of money. And let me tell you something. I know Alabama got it, but that's ain't Texas A&M and Texas money now. $70 million to make for somebody to leave. Every time I think about that, I mean, Marvin, you know what I'm saying? I think they pay you to leave. They pay you to get out. I don't even know if that's a bad day. Man, you gone. Okay. Just make sure the check clear, I guess. But I think we've grown to respect Alabama in such a unique way, but we forget Nick Saban, man, them Shaq type shoes to fill. Everybody can't do that. And if I hear something else about John Gruden, I am going to lose my mind. You know why? John Gruden won a Super Bowl in 2002 because he beat the team he got traded from. His starting receivers was Tim Brown and Jerry Rice, and his quarterback was Rich Gannon. That's why he won the game. What did he win after 2002? Nothing. You know how I know? Because in 2008, I was on the Tampa Bay Bucks. We was 9-3 going to December. All we had to do was win one game and make the playoffs. We went 9-7, and he got fired. Then he went to the Raiders and was mediocre. If they go from DeBoer to a John Gruden, he gonna sell tickets, right? He gonna be fun to interview. Why he's too banana, and they are not going to win. Because like we said, college game is a different game. And just because I've had success on the pro level, that don't mean I'm gonna win in college. Coach DeBoer, hey, listen, he makes 10 million plus. So I'm not gonna feel sorry for him. He makes too much money, but earning his money, well, that might be different. They want him to at least get him 10 wins to match $1 million a game. Well, he's 0-1 right now. Alabama would be fine, but I never thought it would come to that. Florida State beating them like that, they beat them up. They out Alabama to Alabama. They beat them like Alabama used to bludgeon people. That's how they got beat. So that's the part. It's not that you got beat, it's how you looked. And Florida State looked like Alabama, and Alabama looked like Florida State. So I guess they say it's scripts. They say the NFL season is scripted. Well, it ain't scripted into college football, because had it been, Florida State would have been on the losing end. Ain't it crazy when the script don't go as planned? Oh, Florida State won. Oh, Miami beat Notre Dame. Oh, Ohio State beat Arch Manning. No, it's supposed to be the other way. Nope. You got to earn it. And for one day, hey, man, everybody was making jokes about old Tommy C over there in Florida State. Yeah, well, he might not be the tallest, but his game, 6'6", 6'7", man, that young man could play.
Yeah, let me tell you, as Tommy and I probably know, and everybody might know it, is that Ray Perkins was the unlucky guy that had to follow in Bear Bryant's footsteps. That was no easy task. Mel?
Yeah, I mean, obviously following in Nick Saban's footsteps is very, very difficult. Coming in behind him is extremely difficult. I think they thought they had the guy with Kalen DeBoer looking like he's probably not the guy. They just don't play the same type of football. I mean, Alabama had Bear Bryant, they had Nick Saban, and they had two of the greatest coaches of all time. Very, very difficult for anybody to come in behind him. And when he left, it kind of didn't really give Alabama an opportunity to really go out there and survey the landscape and get the best coach. I mean, they took a guy who was hot at the particular time, had a hot quarterback. They did some things in the college playoffs and thought that he might be the guy, but it's a different animal. The SEC football is a different animal, and Alabama football is different. And they've become accustomed to winning and winning a certain way, and that's not who he is. Washington was a little bit more of a finesse team. Alabama, like Ben says, man, they bludgeon people. I mean, they just hit you in the mouth, period. And you don't see that. And you see Florida State being more physical than Alabama. I mean, that was eye-opening. But what I did like, there was so much talk about Arch Manning, and that quarterback, man, that transferred from BC, man, for Florida State, he played lights out. I mean, he managed the game, controlled the game, and played lights out. Did what they paid him to do, to come down there. I know there's a lot of talk from Bill O'Brien about him and him leaving. He was pretty upset with him leaving, going down to Florida State. But obviously he made the right decision for himself. And look, we know Florida State. I mean, for the longest time, the ACC was nothing but Miami and Florida State. For the longest time when I was growing up, it was Miami and ACC, Miami and Florida State after they left the Big East. And so it's good for college football that Florida State is playing the type of football they're playing. I mean, that's what we've become accustomed to. With Bobby Bowden there, they were always in contention. Jimbo had him in contention as well. I think his eyes got a little bit bigger. His eyes got real big. He saw that money and took that money at Texas A&M. But he done a pretty good job over there at Florida State. Florida State was always competitive. So it doesn't surprise me because they can get players. There's a lot of players in Florida, so it doesn't surprise me that Florida is playing well. They played well a couple of years ago. Had a down year last year. Don't think they couldn't get the quarterback right. I think they got that situation settled this year. And look for Florida to make some noise in the ACC this year. Florida State rather, to make some noise in the ACC this year.
Okay, turn over to Tommy.
DeBoer was a fool for ever leaving Washington, and he's going to pay for it for a long time. The last time a coach from Washington took over the job at Alabama, it was Mike Price from Washington State. He never coached a game because he had got in trouble at a strip bar before he ever coached a game. But DeBoer is going to suffer a lot more and a lot longer than Mike Price being down at Alabama. That was a doomed situation for him to begin with. If you look at Alabama's record, when Bear Bryant was going big, nobody had more talent than Bear Bryant because he would have 140 guys on scholarship. He would recruit guys just so they wouldn't play for Tennessee, their biggest rival, or Mississippi, or Auburn, and he would stash them on the bench there. He had a huge recruiting, he had a huge talent advantage. Plus, he never lifted his head outside the Mason-Dixon line. He only played all white teams in the South. And then when the college scholarship limits came into play, he had a little bit of success, but then he started getting older, and he was losing his touch when Ray Perkins took over. Alabama wasn't a strong program anymore. And if you look at Nick Saban, people aren't going to like this that I say this. They're going to think I'm nuts. But nobody had more talent than Nick Saban at Alabama. He had for whatever reason, he had the perfect confluence of social media, of all these kids following each other like lemmings to the sea to play together. And then he had so much NFL talent. He had a huge edge that way. DeBoer doesn't have the best talent in the SEC like Bryant and Nick Saban always had. Remember this about Nick Saban. He never won a Big Ten title at Michigan State. And Mark D'Antonio won a Big Ten title in only his third year at Michigan State. So Saban, a lot of his success, obviously he's a great coach. I'm not saying he's not a great coach, but a lot of that success from Alabama is because they simply had more talent than anybody else. If you ask me to pick between Bryant and Saban, I would pick Bryant as the better coach. And anybody who knows me knows I don't like Bryant because he dragged his feet on college football integration, but they made up these stories about Bryant and the 1970 USC Alabama game and Sam Cunningham, and everybody's falling for it like suckers. College football integration took place in the 60s, not in 1970. But back to my original point, DeBoer was a fool to take that job. He's not from the South. He's from Washington. He was a fool, and it was a doom to begin with.
All right, Candy.
Let's not forget last year, Alabama lost to Oklahoma 24-3 as well. So them losing to a much, much improved Florida State team that had something to come out here and prove. Now, their quarterback, Scott, you wanted stats? Castellanos was 9 of 14 for 152 yards, but he also rushed 16 times for 78 yards and a touchdown. So he has a game that goes both ways. Alabama's quarterback, 23 of 43 for 254 yards with 2 touchdowns. So yeah, he has more total yards, but 23 of 43 is not the same as not the same completion rate as 9 of 14. Is Alabama in trouble? Is everybody running, putting up the flag? No. I mean, it's one game. And Florida, like I said, Florida State 2 years ago, they had what kind of a team? That team was really good. Now, albeit they got injured right at the last minute, then they did the whole playoffs, I get. But they have a good team. Alabama, they have to find, their identity was Nick Saban for the longest time. They have to find their identity after Nick Saban, and they haven't found it yet.
Well, keep in mind, they also lost to the Michigan Wolverines in their bowl game last year as well under Sharon Moore. That didn't help matters. And all of a sudden, your last game, you end up losing to Michigan, then you lose to Florida State, which I think will be an upstart team this year with what they've done. That's 2 losses in a row for those respective squads. You know what, Tommy? You brought some interesting points, so this will be a good time for the Shanahan report. And then when we come back from that, we'll go to a station break, and then we'll talk about our feature topic of the night, the Miami Hurricanes tackle Notre Dame. So go ahead, Tommy, give us a brief overview of what you have for the Shanahan report. And keep in mind, Tom Shanahan will join me next week on the Motor City Mad Mouse show. We'll give you the details later on, and he'll talk about his latest book. So, Tommy, go ahead. You have the floor for a few minutes to talk about the Shanahan report.
Well, I've also written a lot about Army and Navy football and what a great rivalry that is. The Army-Navy football game is the greatest rivalry in college sports. But what I want to talk about today is Army backup safety Larry Pickett. You might have seen in the news that he and his dad pulled a guy out of a burning car. They were coming back. The family was coming back from dinner, and they saw a crash in front of them. It was a small white car crashed into a tree and a utility pole. Sparks were flying, and Larry and his dad both got out of the car and pulled this man from safety across the street. And if you look at the video, it's like watching a scripted movie. The car bursts into flames just seconds after they get the guy out of there. And so this guy may be a backup safety, and I know him a little bit because he's from Raleigh. I've written about him before, and it's just an amazing story. He got a lot of national attention. The Secretary of the Army praised him. Head coach Jeff Monken said, "This is what cadets do. They rush. They're trained to do things like this, and this was a perfect example." So the guy to salute, the real hero of the first weekend of college football, was a backup safety at Army West Point, Larry Pickett.
Larry Pickett. All right, Candy, we'll go ahead and pivot to a station break. Go ahead, Candy.
South Florida Tribune Publishing Company published a book, Lessons from the Microphone, Tuning into the Enduring Wisdom of Visionary Leaders. It is written by our host, Scott, the Motor City Madmouth Morganroth. Talks about his 40-plus years in the industry and how it has changed. Old school media meets new school media. Get your copy today. It's available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Kindle, Google, and Apple Books. There's also a link on our website, www.southfloridatribune.com, where there is a plethora of great content. So go check it out. If you like to listen to podcasts, you can find us wherever you get your podcasts. If you want to advertise, you can always call Scott at 954-304-4941. If you want to be a guest or have topic ideas, you can always email us at southfloridatribune@gmail.com. Back to you, Scott.
All right, Candy, thank you very much. All right, we're going to go back to the Big Ten. Former Michigan Wolverines coach Lloyd Carr's record versus the Big Ten. I'm going to give you this. This is pretty interesting, and it'll segue to our next segment as well. Against Illinois, he was 8-1. Indiana 10-0. Iowa 6-2. Michigan State 10-3. Minnesota 10-4. Northwestern 8-3. Ohio State he was 6-7. Penn State 9-2. Purdue 7-2. Wisconsin 7-2. All right. So Mel, what are your thoughts about Lloyd Carr's record against the Big Ten?
Lloyd Carr's record against the Big Ten.
Yeah. I mean, Ohio State's the only blemish. Otherwise, he pretty much dominated the whole conference.
Yeah, but if you can't beat Ohio State, that's a problem. I think that what was that? Earl Bruce? Is that who got fired because he couldn't beat Michigan? Is that who that was?
Yeah, Earl Bruce had some tough times down there.
I mean, yeah.
John Cooper didn't fare much better either.
Yeah, it was John Cooper you're thinking of.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay, that's what I'm thinking about. So now, what's Ohio State's coach name right now? Ryan Day. He was having a difficult time beating Michigan, and he was on the hot seat, even though the team was in the playoffs. He was thought to be on the hot seat because they could not beat Michigan. Now that's nobody's talking about that anymore because they went out and won the Natty.
Right.
But he still has to beat Michigan. Michigan, Harbaugh was having a hard time beating Ohio State when Urban Meyer was there. He was having a very difficult time. So it kind of ebbs and flows. But to have that type of record in the Big Ten, I mean, you have to really think about back then what the Big Ten was back then, and it's not what it is right now. Purdue wasn't very good. Illinois wasn't very good. Northwestern wasn't very good. Wisconsin was okay. I don't think Penn State was in the league at that particular time. Michigan State, they had their moments. So the league back then wasn't what it is today. But it's still, it's still a difficult conference. Hell, you play the opponents that are put in front of you. He was successful in doing so. He was a successful coach for the University of Michigan. So I mean, obviously his record speaks for itself.
Well, actually, Mel, he did really well against Penn State. He was 9-2, just so you know. So I just want to make sure you.
So Penn State they were in the Big Ten at that time?
Yeah, they were. Yeah, they were 9-2. All right, Ben, what are your thoughts about Lloyd Carr?
I mean, I agree with Mel. I mean, I think the thing about it is people gonna be saying, yeah, man, you 122-40. I mean, you talk about 77%. Yeah, they're gonna say, okay, what's the elephant in the room? Oh yeah, man, what was your record against Ohio State? 6-7. Even Harbaugh, I mean, he was there for what, 9 years? He went 3-5 against Ohio State. We were talking about earlier, right? When you talk about the greatest rivalry, Army and Navy, it's always gonna come down to can you beat your rival, right? People are gonna talk about what you did. They're gonna say, hey man, who did you? I mean, I was blessed enough to play with Steve Spurrier his last 2 years of Florida. He didn't talk about Florida State that much. He didn't really have his way with Bobby Bowden. He just beat Bobby Bowden in the national championship. And that's what makes football fair. They're gonna ask you, okay, yeah, you did that. But what about those guys? If you cannot beat your rival, it makes your record or what you've done seem less. It don't take away what you did, but there's a reason why an Ohio State congressman said he's trying to ban planting the flag. You know why? Because Ohio State ain't beat Michigan lately. He wasn't saying that when Ohio State was winning, but when they lose, I think we ought to plan. I think we ought to have people go to jail. Dude, come on, man. That's what you negotiate as a congressman now. I'm serious. Like when it comes down to your rivals, that's what people. Even if people don't understand everything about your conference, they know who your rival is. What school you went to?
Right.
Laura Carr, you coached at Michigan? Yeah. Oh man, you was a good coach. What about Ohio State? Well, and you want to be on the winning side of that, but incredible coach though. Like an incredible coach. But whenever the Lord Carrs or, even like, you got the Harbaughs and those guys of the world, or even like a Ryan Day, what's helping Coach Day is the fact that he won the Natty, but he lost to Michigan. And people gonna be like, hey man, isn't that kind of like, yeah, you want to beat Michigan, Ohio State, and win the Natty? But yeah, Lord Carr is one of the best coaches to coach. It'll just be one of those things where if you understand football, unfortunately, we dwell on what you don't do compared to what you did do. 6-7 isn't the worst record in the world. Unfortunately, you had a losing record against those guys, from Columbus. And and no one wants to have that. But incredible coach, 122-40. If coaches are doing that, you got to be at a school long enough to coach that many games. Now, coaches don't even coach. They don't even last that long. So, but incredible. Lord Carr, he's one of the best to ever do it, no doubt about it.
Well, he did win a national championship at Michigan, by the way. I don't know if you knew that, but he did win one there. So, all right, Marvin, go ahead.
Yeah, listen, this guy was at Michigan for 28 years, starting off obviously as an assistant and working his way up. Listen, under him, they won a national title. They won a Heisman. He went a little bit under 500 versus rival, which in that rivalry, as everyone said, is significant. The unfortunate reality is not rivalry. You're judged based on winning that game. But I think his record is historic. I think he's an all-time coach for that conference, and he's definitely one of the greatest coaches in a great program.
Tommy?
Yeah, I think the thing to remember about Lloyd Carr is he was thought to be a placeholder. If you remember, Gary Moyler lost his mind at a bar one night. He got drunk and he got fired, and it was too close to the start of the season to search for a new coach, so they promoted Lloyd Carr. And who knew that he was going to turn out to be the coach that he was?
Yeah.
He was a high school coach, successful high school coach.
Right.
Got hired as a Michigan assistant, and that seemed to be his career path. All of a sudden, he's thrown into the head coaching job, and he thrived. It just goes to show you never know who's going to be a good head coach, and maybe what you have to be in the right environment too, the right place. Clearly, it all came together for Lloyd Carr, and 6-7. I don't know if it's that bad. I don't know how many coaches. I bet he's not that low ranked among winning percentages of coaches in that rivalry. Right. Other than the legends, Woody Hayes and Bo Schembechler and a few other names that might have dominated. But otherwise, I would think most guys have a losing record. He's at least close to 500.
All right, Candy.
So he served as head coach for the University of Michigan from 95 through 2007 season. Under them, he compiled a record of 122-40 and won or shared 5 Big Ten conference titles, 97, 98, 2000, 2003, and 2004. Carr's undefeated 1997 team was declared the national champion by the Associated Press. His record coaching against top 10 ranked opponents was 20-8. He was inducted into the College Football Hall of Fame as a coach back in 2011.
All right, well, great segue, because you know what? Candy and I got to see Lloyd Carr's grandson play against the University of Miami. And that is our featured topic of the night. Marvin, I know you've been waiting, but here's the thing. Our audience is getting bigger as the show wears on. That's why I like to have these a little bit longer so we can build up to our featured topic of the night, Miami tackling Notre Dame on Sunday night. Oh my gosh, I remember sleeping till 2:15 on Labor Day. That's how worn out I was. Now I gotta give the Miami Hurricanes assistant athletic director Cameron Gorby his due. He knew full well, okay, that there wouldn't be enough. I wouldn't be able to talk to Mario Cristobal because there was such a demand for the Notre Dame game. You know when you have a good communications guy. Gorby's really good. So what does he do? Cam goes out there and sends me a text. I didn't see it until the next day. I said, "Oh, go ahead. You got to do the players. I need your help over there." Basically, I did. So as we segue to it, let's go over the particulars in this game. Notre Dame went into it as 2.5-point favorites, and there you go. You've got Carson Beck, 20 for 30, 205 yards, and a touchdown. And of course, Carter Davis kicked the game-winning field goal. C.J. Carr, by the way, Carr's grandson, went 19 of 30 for 221 yards, 2 touchdowns and an interception. And he also had 11 rushes for 16 yards. So, Cam, Gorby, I'm giving you an assist there because I didn't put Cristobal out tonight because you gave me some better options. And I'll tell you what, before I have my crew comment on it, Candy, go to the tape. And we're going to be playing Beck, and then we're going to be playing Davis. Go ahead, Can.
Okay. Let me get.
Carson, I'm sorry to interrupt. But anyways, how glad are you to get this first game over with? And prior to the game, were there a lot of Hurricane alumni people from the past? Because you had a lot of them there encouraging you that it's time for you to go ahead and really take this program going forward. I know that the alumni base is really, really close here in Miami as well. And then you get the first one out of the way.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, obviously, we were looking forward to this one big time, right? Especially for me, I hadn't played football in 8 months. And the last time that my team, obviously, was not this team, the team that I was on, the team that we played was them.
Right.
And they beat us. So, obviously, I was looking forward to it. And, I mean, I have the utmost respect for Notre Dame. And, I mean, their defense played their butt off tonight. They got a lot of talent on that side of the ball. And, I mean, they're going to win a lot of ball games this year. So, I mean, it came down to situational football. And we weren't able to execute that at a high level tonight. But, yeah, I mean, guys coming in and speaking to us and, I mean, it's super cool. I mean, the Hurricane, there's Hurricane legends that, run deep. The orange and green blood runs deep. And obviously it's, something that I'm thankful and blessed to do.
Carson, that CJ.
Okay, let me go over Gorby's comment real quick. It was actually pretty classy for the guy. I really like him. Only have a few left, so going to have you do players. And he sends it to me at 11:41. I don't see it. Tommy, I'm going to talk to you about it. When a guy like that sends you a text in the middle of the night, says, you're going to have to go out there and help me on the players. What's your interpretation of that? You think it's you find that to be a sign of respect?
Oh, definitely. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, elaborate, because obviously you cover this as well. So
they have a lot. They have a lot of things to take care of, and they have a lot of people that they can rely on. So he definitely was confident that he could count on you to handle it.
Right.
Very impressive.
And Candy, you were there, obviously. You know Cam pretty well. What's your thought about Cam Gorby and the way he handled that situation with me with the players? Because the reason why I'm mentioning this up now is because we're going to play Carter Davis next. But Candy, you were there.
I mean, let's face it. When you're there and you're playing as huge of an opponent as Notre Dame, and it was such a big game on the national stage, you're going to have a lot of reporters there and most of them, they want the coach. They have the questions for the coach. So Cameron is telling you, you know what? I have too many people needing for the coach. I need you to ask the questions of the players, because the players are giving us their time. We need to make sure that they get respect and get asked good questions, and he knows you're going to ask good questions. A lot of respect.
All right. With that said, let's go to the kicker and I'll go ahead and his first attempt was, unfortunately, it didn't work out because I think they had a bad snap or something bad. But then I'll tell you what, we brought up Andy Borregales, who's now with the New England Patriots, and he's the guy that had to go ahead and replace him. I think what's so good about these two soundbites, Marvin, Ben, and Mel particularly, is the Miami Hurricanes hit two glaring holes here. So we didn't not worry about Cristobal tonight, but you got a guy who's going to kick field goals and kick winners, right? And then you have the quarterback. You can't have two better guys on our show tonight than obviously Carter Davis and Carson Beck, because those are the two big holes that people really wondered about all along. So Mel, Ben, Marvin, watch yours truly in action as I talk to a kicker. And I've talked to a lot of great kickers over the years. Listen, some of the kickers I've talked to are Garo Yepremian over the years. And I know Tommy remembers him. I talked to Al Del Greco many years ago. And who's the kicker for the Chiefs this past? Oh, help me out! I'm drawing a blank there, but is it Harrison?
Jan Stenerud.
Well, no,
Jan Stenerud.
Never got him. Harrison Butker. So, all right, Candy, let's go to the latest kicker on my interview list.
So I do want to set the stage when you're talking about the first mishap that they had, just so everybody, in case you weren't watching, it rained the entire first half. So that plays a part in the kicking game as well. Let me just play the clip for you now. Let me get you the... Wait. Hold on. Let me get you... Hold on. Let me get you the right one because you wanted the first one first.
Yeah, we'll go to the first one, then you go to the second one. Then I'll have everybody comment on it. I'm going to go to the players first on this one. So go ahead. Okay. Let's talk. Here's Carter.
How easy was it for you to shrug it off, saying, I'm going to be out there later and I'll go out there and find a way to decide this thing one way or the other? Because that was just an unfortunate situation that you walked into.
I mean, I trust in our guys. Like, I know our snapper and our holder, Dylan, right. Adam, they're some of the best. They're the reason they're here. And I just didn't have to worry about it anymore. I told them, I was like, we're fine. Like, it happens. We're humans.
Right.
Everything happens for a reason. And after that, we just went back to work.
There's the first
one. That's the first one. And now the second one's coming up.
Share screen. Is this? I think it's this one.
Can you make the sound a little bit louder?
I'm going to see if I can. I'm going to try.
Well, we know Andy made the New England Patriots, and it's good that he did because it adds a little light to the kicking program here. But now that you're following him, what brought you to Miami, and what do you feel you'll be able to make your mark here with the Canes, knowing that you have Carson Beck? Once he gets going, everybody get the offense, that you'll make a difference as the year goes on.
I mean, I've known Andy since third grade because we grew up down here together. So I've been competing with him in all-star games, all these different things. So when I knew he was leaving, I texted him. I said, is there anybody coming for that spot? And then I kind of got my way in. But at the same time, I knew the blueprint that he's a great kicker here, and it's not for no reason. He is a great kicker, but it's able to flourish.
Okay, there you have it. I hope you guys can hear it good enough anyways. But obviously, he's Borgal. So overall, Marvin, what are your thoughts about both of those individuals, Carson Beck, and the way he had handled himself against Notre Dame, and talking about the alumni? And then I want you to follow up on the kicker, Carter Davis. Marvin, you have first digs at this one.
Well, I think this whole game came down to Carson Beck. I think he was the big story. I think he was the big narrative. He was the big $6 million quarterback leaving Georgia after a good career there. At one point going into last season, he was the number one pick in the draft. Obviously gets injured. They lose a couple games. And yesterday, I thought he looked sharp. I thought he looked good. Okay. I thought he looked like a first rounder. I thought that, any question about his injury, that those questions have been answered. And, all you've heard is positive stuff about this kid, his work ethic, his commitment to the craft. And you saw it show up for him. He's what resilience looks like. He's what hard work looks like. He made the throws. I thought he looked great. So, I got a lot of respect for that kid, and want to see if he can do it, week in and week out. But he started off great against a team that was supposed to go in there and beat their butt. I thought Notre Dame was going to be too tough up front, in the front seven and with the O-line. And Miami got it done. Miami looked physical. They looked physical out there on defense. Carson looked good. In regards to the kicker, I didn't hear a lot of what he said, and I may have missed some of that game. But that's my take on the rest of it, though.
Okay, I mean, I tell you what, I think he enjoyed. Actually, Candy, what was your take since the sound wasn't that you were able to take away from Davis? Can you,
I would say so for Davis, he was really complimentary of the whole system. He was complimentary of the snapper, of the holder, of all of them because as he didn't have as much success last year, he had the success the other night because of being down the snapper, the snap. It was a second quicker than he was last year, so that he saw the ball better. He just feels it's a better system overall, probably better coached. All around. I mean, and he goes on and he talked about Andy, and Andy and him have known each other for years and years and years. And Andy Borgalis was a kicker last year and moved on, and is now kicking in and he's in the NFL. But he was just saying how, they've grown up together a long time, so they have a lot of the same attributes and stuff like that. So
so there you have it, Marvin. That she paraphrased pretty much what we were able to get there. Anything you want to add to that?
I mean, I think she hit it.
There you go.
Yeah, I think she covered it pretty well, to be honest with you.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
Ben, you can talk about Beck and you can talk about the
I mean,
kicker. What's your
I respect everything Carson Beck said because I think because him being at Georgia as long as he has, he understands tradition. He understands what he's there to do. I mean, watching Cam Ward a year before kind of readies him for. I mean, I understand that Miami is a big brand. Notre Dame is the brand, if you want to look at that. But I agree with Marvin. This was all about Carson Beck. I know he was. If Carson Beck don't play the way, because I mean Notre Dame. I mean, 17 points in the fourth quarter is hard for any. They didn't just roll over, but it was a good game. And I think Carson says. I think what Carson realizes is they don't care how we win. They just want to win, man. And I'm gonna have a lot to do with that. It's much easier, and I don't like to use the word easy very, 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 very humbly, for a kicker to have to come kick the game winner, to have to keep you in the game all game. Hey man, I'm a better kicker when I'm not kicking every quarter to keep us in the game. Carson Beck understood the situation. CJ Daniels catch. I mean, I don't know when the one-handed catch became normal, but that was nasty, nasty. I'm like, okay, they doing it like that. And as a person that had to play against the 2000, 2002, and 2003 Miami Hurricanes, I didn't play against 2001. Not saying we would have beat them. I would have just went 0-4 instead of 0-3. I know what Miami means, to college football. And I think with
right?
Carson Beck, people saying, "Do you going from Georgia to Miami?" Like, yeah, but I'm not going to Miami so they can, not win games. I think he's going to something Marvin said. That at one point he was the number one pick. Somebody had him number one pick in 2024, and he saw his draft stock kind of plummet. Let me go to Miami and continue to boost the resume. But it was a great game. I mean, it really, really was. I mean, if you're gonna have to wait all day long, all weekend long to finally get to the I mean, was it? Didn't they have the Canes? I mean, didn't they have the Crooks or something versus the Catholic, the convicts versus the Catholics? Not that those players had anything to do with it. It lived up to it, and you had to watch the entire game. And so I enjoyed it. Whenever you interviewing a kicker, that either means he did something really, really good or really, really bad. If he's doing interviews after the game, obviously he did something good, and he can live to kick another day. But shout out to CJ Carr, shout out to Carson Beck. I mean, I just think that Cristobal, and Coach Freeman, they lived up to it. They understood what's at stake. Neither one. I mean, Notre Dame isn't out of it by no stretch of the imagination. And Miami understands, hey, man, we talked about it earlier, right? Mel talked about it earlier. At one point, it was just Miami. It was just Florida State. Could we be getting back to those days in the ACC of it just being the Canes and Florida State? I mean, that don't make me feel good knowing the Mouth Gators got to play both of them. They got to play both of those guys. With Miami on the schedule early and Florida State being the last game. But for one night, in South Florida, man, it was an incredible game.
All right, Mel.
Yeah, the difference in that game was the quarterback. Both of them were replacing quarterbacks. One guy's replacing the first pick of the NFL draft. The offense was the number one offense in the country last year. The other guy's replacing Riley Leonard. And the difference was quarterback play. Notre Dame didn't get the quarterback play that they needed in order to really open up their entire offense, to really open up their running game. If Miami's defense doesn't have to worry about the quarterback taking the top off of the defense, they can kind of load up the box and stop that running game because they weren't afraid of him and what he could do in the passing game. He got lucky one time, ran around like Roger Staubach or Fran Tarkenton and threw that one pass, and I think they made a completion or it was a touchdown, whatever it was. He got lucky one time. You can't get lucky all the time and do that. But I have to admit, Carson Beck played well. He obviously was, he played well. I mean, you could see that. You could see that he was a veteran. He's been in a lot of big games, and he was able to handle that situation and really manage, be the game manager that he needed to be, distribute the ball to the playmakers, and he was the difference in that football game. Unfortunately, CJ Carr has a lot to learn, and he will. But he has to learn it in a hurry. He's at Notre Dame. He has to learn it in a hurry.
That's true.
There's a lot of expectations there, and right now the quarterback is holding him back.
Yeah, no doubt. And I'll say this: the only notable difference is I'm seeing Carson Beck play for the first time and saw a lot of Cam Ward. The two quarterbacks are very different, but as long as they get the job done and they win, it doesn't really matter what their styles are like as well. So I should point out one other Miami note: Xavier Restrepo who was cut last week, ended up being signed to the Titans practice squad. A few other NFL notes I'll bring up while I have the opportunity to do that is the Titans also added Kazir White, formerly of the Cardinals. A couple quarterback updates. Hendon Hooker is going to the Carolina Panthers. Tommy DeVito to the New England Patriots. And Bailey Zappi is headed to Cleveland, so they now have 4 quarterbacks in the room. So I just want to make sure I got those updates. Not worried about comments in this situation. It's pretty much just about making sure that everybody knows from one show to another where some of these individuals landed, and that's where we'll go from there. So, all right. And unless you guys want to add anything to those transactions.
Listen, I'm happy that your receiver from the U got picked up. I know we had a tough conversation last week.
Yeah.
But he landed. I'm happy for him and his family. He had a great career at UM. Hopefully, so I was a practice squad guy. I went from the practice squad to the active roster. So you start from the bottom. I respect it, and good luck to that kid.
Yeah, I was a practice squad guy too.
Yeah,
the very first year they had it.
Ben don't know about that. Ben was, Ben was, All American.
No. The only thing saved me was getting drafted high. If I would have been a 7th round pick, I would have. They don't have rookie footage like they do now. Mine would have been the throwaway tape. Like, Ben, that's you. No, that's my cousin. That ain't me. No, that was me. That was and I. Let me say this to everyone that be saying, "Hey, man, why is practice squad guys?" Some of the best players and teammates you have, because they got to know the offense and defense as if they start. They got to fill in for everybody that don't want to run the offense or defense, and if they do get called up, I guarantee you, every time a practice squad player get called up, like, this is what I don't like. Don't call me up for 3 weeks and then release me when that guy comes back. No, make a place for me. So make a place for me, because practice squad guys are essential. Practice squad guys in the NFL are just as essential as walk-on guys in college football. These are the guys that work the hardest, that make the least, that never complain. And if they had their practice squad guys should be able to renegotiate their contracts just like guys who are starters. Because when you ask who helped the team get right, what's the practice? I've seen receivers play linebacker on defense, and they flying around. They are not asking. I'm telling you, the practice squad guys, they are the greatest trash talkers to ever come through football. They do everything but hit the quarterback. I'm just telling you.
I've done that. I played every position on offense. Whenever somebody was, hey, we need somebody, we need a center, I'd be right there. Right tackle would be right there. Like, come on, Mel, you can't. Hey, I got the coach. I knew every position, what every position had to do on offense. I knew wide receiver, we need one out there. I'm on a wide receiver. I knew what everybody's supposed to do. Hey, we need the quarterback. I got it. I was first with Mel. Come on now. Coach, I got it. I mean, look, and we didn't get paid the kind of money these guys are getting paid. I can tell you that. But the first year, we didn't get paid no money. Zero. I mean, we got no money compared to what you guys get paid. I mean, compared to what these guys get paid now.
Well, nevertheless, I'm glad I brought this up here, because at least I got 2 of the 3 are on practice squads, and at least for Restrepo, I'm happy that he's on there as well. So it's good stuff. Candy, what do you want to add to this?
I want to add back to the Miami over Notre Dame game. And you guys all talk about quarterback. But mind you, CJ Carr was 19 of 30 for 221 yards with 2 touchdowns. He threw 1 interception. Carson Beck was 20 for 30 for 205 yards, 2 touchdowns. So Carr threw for more yards, one less completion. The difference in this game was home field advantage, because I will tell you that crowd was so loud that I think that's what made that difference, was the crowd. These quarterbacks, both of them played their heart out. They were pretty close and similar. Yes, Carson Beck has a little bit more, but being there on the field, I have never heard Hard Rock that loud for Miami than I did that night. And I think that honestly was the difference.
Tommy, what's your take on this game?
I was going to say, if you remember last week, I didn't expect Notre Dame to win the game. I thought Miami was going to win, but you guys raised some red flags about the defense. But I just thought Miami had the edge because they had an experienced quarterback, and Notre Dame was starting a rookie. And Notre Dame did better than I expected. And like I said last week, Notre Dame was lucky last year. They had such a soft schedule and won that first game. And I kind of expect a reverse this year. They've lost that first game. They still have a soft schedule. We'll see what kind of record they end up with. But the other thing about Notre Dame and their success last year, and James Franklin brought this up in the playoffs, Notre Dame doesn't have to play a conference championship game. And that's a big advantage. So they're playing a soft regular season schedule, and they don't have to get beat up in a conference championship game. So I'm just not sure how good Notre Dame is.
So the Big Ten, they have a way to eliminate the conference championship game, right? By having either 24 or 2018 playoff and doing away with the conference championships.
It should, yeah. But for now, Notre Dame gets to take advantage of not having one.
Right. Interesting.
One last thing for Miami that I want to shout out is to Malachi Tony. He's a 17-year-old that had 6 receptions for 82 yards. 17-year-old and a touchdown. Kudos to him. He's one of the youngest to ever score for Miami.
Yeah, and you'll hear more about him in the coming weeks as well. We'll definitely bring him up. And obviously the stories in this game that we were able to bring, we want to talk about the kicker and Carson Beck. And Mario Cristobal does get a win against Notre Dame, a signature win himself. So a few other things I want to address tonight while I can. Arch Manning on his grandson. Arch, he won't be declaring for the 2026 draft. FYI, we obviously know that Texas lost 14-7 to Ohio State on Saturday. So, all right, Mel, what are your thoughts about both of these situations?
Well, I mean, Archie said that before the game, a couple weeks ago, saying that he would stay. Arch wasn't so sure that he was going to stay. They anointed him before he never did anything. I mean, I never understood it. I mean, these guys already had him the number 1 draft pick. He's a preseason Heisman favorite, and he really hasn't done anything. God forbid Shedeur Sanders would have had a night like Arch Manning had. If Arch Manning played like Shedeur, I mean, you wouldn't be able to talk enough about it. All Shedeur did. I mean, Shedeur never had one of these types of games. He played big time football week in and week out with no running game whatsoever. It was all on him because they did not run the football. They're the worst in college football running the football. And so, yeah, he has Shedeur had the Sanders name. He has the Manning name. I don't understand the difference. There's only one difference, one clear difference. I don't need to point it out. But this guy's been anointed something and hasn't proven himself yet. And I think that kind of irritated the folks up at Ohio State. And I think and Matt Patricia said, hey, we're going to show this guy some stuff that he's never seen before. And you could see, he's been at Texas for 2 years, so he should have been a lot more, and he's played in some games, so he should have been a lot more comfortable than he was. Granted, he was in a hostile environment up there in Columbus, but he just did not look comfortable, and it showed. And so, everybody's reevaluating, I guess, what they think of Arch Manning right now. Everybody's changing their opinion. I mean, everybody before was real high. I mean, Colin Cowherd said, "Hey, he's the number one quarterback. He's going to be the first pick of the NFL draft." Blah 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 blah. Now everybody's having to backpedal on that because of that stinker that he put up there in Columbus.
Ben?
Yeah, I mean, the thing about Archie Manning, he did come out and say that Archie's not going to enter the 2026 draft, and everybody was saying, well, he's just looking out for his grandson. Listen, what the Mannings are doing, Archie in particular, it's the same thing Deion Sanders did when it come to his sons. It's the same thing LeVar Ball did with his son. It's just not being received the same way. If Arch Manning last name was Smith, this would be much to do about nothing, but he's a Manning, and people are going to over-exaggerate. Archie Manning was a good player at Ole Miss. So was his uncle, Eli. Right. Peyton Manning was good at Tennessee. He was not great. He was good. How do I know? Peyton Manning never beat Florida. He never won the SEC championship, and everybody knew he was going to be the number one pick in the draft, right? But Peyton Manning was good. Archie was good, as well as Eli. Maybe Arch is just going to be good and not great. Archie just happened to be born during the social media era to where everything is clickbait. Everything is going to be sensationalized. The young man is good, but guess what? Quinn Ewers went to back-to-back college football playoff semifinals, and people act like it's nothing. He went to back-to-back. So I think for a guy like Arch Manning, I realized that he went over 22 miles an hour a couple of years ago. The game was already over, right? Because Quinn Ewers had already put up 40. I think what Ohio State just showed Arch Manning, even though I don't think it's going to be how he's going to play throughout the year, nobody's going to worry about teams you're supposed to beat when the talent threshold isn't there. They're going to judge you on teams that are good enough to beat you, and that's how football goes. Arch Manning is either going to love having a last name Manning or he is going to hate it, because if he doesn't play well in 2025, he's going to have the hype coming back in 2026, but we've seen this before, right? Maybe Arch Manning, they want him to be Vince Young. I think he's Colt McCoy. That's what I think he is. He's going to be a good player, right? But I think when they done you something based off something you haven't ever done, I'd be like, well, where did this guy – I mean, I know that Paul Feinbaum know that when he speaks, everybody listens, but he's the greatest prospect since Tim Tebow. Where would you say that? Like, why would that even come? Because people like clicks. Arch has done nothing but be Arch Manning. I'm not coming at the young man. I just think that in a big environment, like the shoe, they not finna have you. Look, Coach Ryan, they trying to go back to back. He's saying, look, Arch, nothing against Texas, but we trying to beat Michigan, brother. And nothing against you, young man, but we can't have, once again, like I said earlier, Bill Belichick is gonna have a coming out party. It ain't gonna be against TCU, and Arch Manning gonna have a coming out party. It ain't gonna be against Ohio State. I just hope to God it's not against my Gators when they got to come to Florida later on in the year. We'll see what happens, but I like Arch Manning. I think he handled it the right way. He went to the press conference and said, look, I got to play better. He ain't running from no smoke. He ain't ducking no criticism. I just think that we need to pump our brakes, because while we know it's a narrative, if people say it long enough, people start believing it. Who is this Arch kid? Who is this Arch Manning kid? He's Peyton Manning and, Eli Manning's nephew. I mean, he's Archie Manning's grandson. Oh, man, he's going to be good, right? We'll see, because like I said, every other year, right? While the Dallas Cowboys gonna yell, wait till next year. The other team in Texas, known as University of Texas, they are the greatest "we're back" team you ever. They say we're back every other year. I don't really know what that means at this point, though. Like when they say we're back, I don't know, but it's only one game. Ohio State gonna beat most teams they play, except the team from Ann Arbor. So he don't have to worry about what happened week one. He's just gonna have to show what he's really made of. But I just don't want us to lose our mind if he has a big game, as if to say every quarterback is not going to have big games throughout the course of the year.
Great stuff, man. Yeah, Marvin, sorry you have to follow him, but go ahead.
No, it's an honor and a privilege. Listen, first of all, I'm not out on Manning at all. He went up against probably the best defense in the nation. Yeah. You got at least 8 or 9 guys in that Ohio State defense who will be drafted into the NFL in the first 3 or 4 rounds at some point in their careers. This was his first meaningful game, and at the end of the day, I'm shocked at how bad it was overall. I am shocked that they scored 0 points, and he looked pedestrian and lost. When you think about all the time they had to prepare for this. But again, first game is what it is. We all know that the biggest jump, the biggest advance, the most growth that they say with a football team is between week 1 and week 2. And when you start off with the number 1 defense in the nation on week 1, I bet you that the rest of the season is going to be okay. This kid was the number 1 quarterback in the nation, mentored by some of the GOATs in the game. I believe in that. I think that matters. I think that has had an impact. And I think that when you look at the way he responded, as Bennett said, one of the best ways to identify leadership is humility. When you see guys who should be considered the leaders show humility and gratitude in the response when there's tragedy or just a bad performance, that's a good thing. So I think this kid is made from the right stuff. I do. I think physically he is that guy. I saw a couple of plays that looked really good, and I'm still thinking that even if he's not, the great hype, this kid's going to be, a top 3 quarterback, if not not number 1 overall quarterback at some point in his career. I think this guy's the real deal. I think he had a tough game against a tough opponent, and I think as the season goes on, he'll play a lot better.
Hey, Tommy.
I was going to say back in the 90s, Beano Cook went crazy. The great Beano Cook. Boy, do we miss him. I don't know if any of you remember him in the audience.
I
He was a
remember
great
him.
college football guy. And he went crazy. He lost his mind over Ron Paulus at Notre Dame. Said he was going to win 2 Heisman trophies. And so that's what was shocking to me to hear Paul Feinbaum talk the way he did about Arch Manning. It was really out of character for Paul, for him to lose his mind like that. So the media, this is all the media's fault. The Mannings didn't exploit anything. In fact, I've read where Arch has always taken a back seat to the other quarterbacks at the Manning camp. He doesn't want the attention. And like Marvin said, he seems to be a pretty mature kid as far as handling all this pressure. It's too early to say whether he's going to be a flop or not. I'm sure John Elway had some bad games at Stanford against lesser teams than Ohio State. But yeah, I blame this on the media.
Candy.
Like all the panelists have said, toughest opponent right out the gate, all the pressure, because let's face it, that's all people have been talking about. How is Arch going to do? How is Arch going to do? How is Texas going to do again? Going into the shoe. All that pressure, everybody's hyped. Everybody expects him to do awesome because of his pedigree, because he has the pedigree. Well, just because you have the pedigree doesn't mean you have everything that everyone expects you to. And so going into the horseshoe, first of all, is a tough place to play. Anybody that goes into there, I've been there. Not that I've played, obviously, but I've been there. It's a tough place. And then, I mean, the hype that they're so good as well. And let's face it, they were coached good. Ohio State knew what to do because they've seen some of the tape from Manning. Not all of them do that first game. And the first game jitters for, being on the national stage like you were. Let's face it, College Game Day was there. Lee Corso, his final game was, College Game Day was that day. There's a lot of things that played into that day. I think he'll be fine. Let's see how he goes next game. Then we can start talking.
All right, I just want to let the crew know what we have to look forward to next week. We'll do one more topic tonight to wrap it up. Next week on Inside the Pigskin, we're going to talk about Antonio Brown and Josh Gordon, the struggles that they're having at the moment, Desmond Watson not being employed because of weight issues, and Micah Parsons' debut with the Packers versus the Detroit Lions. So with that said, we will cover those topics next week. Hope everybody really have the same group next week to talk about those 4 topics. It's going to be interesting ones. And we have one more topic to go, and we'll talk about the Indianapolis Colts, who have had 11 starting quarterbacks since Andrew Luck, who retired in 2019, and Daniel Jones has been named the starting quarterback over Anthony Richardson. Okay, with that said, Tommy, what are your thoughts about the Colts quarterback situation.
Yeah, that's a ridiculous stat. 11 quarterbacks.
Yeah,
Sounds like the Lions from their bad days.
yeah.
I like Daniel Jones. I liked him at Duke. I think he got beat up. He's not a guy. He's a deer in the headlights guy. So maybe he's never going to overcome it. But he got beat up with the Giants. Hopefully he can rebuild his confidence. But as far as his passing, I like him, and I hope he succeeds.
Mel?
Yeah, a lot of programs have that similar type of stat where they've had a lot of quarterbacks where they're trying to find the guy, and that tells you what they're trying to do. They're trying to find that guy. Now they've had a couple people in there who were kind of bridge quarterbacks, whether it be Phillip Rivers, Matt Ryan, but they need to find another franchise quarterback, and the best way to do that is through the draft. Daniel Jones, here again, he's I think they thought they did it with Anthony Richardson. I didn't think so. I think they fell in love with with his athleticism. He hadn't really done a whole lot on the football field, but he had a lot of upside. I mean, his upside was huge, but at the same time, his downside was huge as well. And they took a big risk there, and it hasn't paid off. Daniel Jones, as a person, I don't know him as a person or anything like that, but what I've seen on film, I was never really high on Daniel Jones. He did have one good year where they took New York to the playoffs, and he was able to capitalize on that and get himself a contract. They paid him versus paying Saquon Barkley and allowed Barkley to walk out the building. It's going to be interesting to see. I mean, they're trying to get the quarterback situation figured out, and they're trying to get that head coaching situation figured out, and don't know if they have either one of those figured out right now at this time. So we'll see.
Turn over to Ben.
Yeah, I mean, I had a feeling that when Daniel Jones went to the Colts, he could have went to any other team. It's because he felt as though he had the best shot to beat out Anthony Richardson, and it worked. I mean, when you look at the team, when you look at the players that they've had, I mean, they've had Phillip Rivers, they've had Hasselbeck, they've had Matt Ryan. So this isn't new as far as like them trying to get a veteran quarterback. They need somebody to jumpstart. I mean, to go from Peyton Manning and 14 years after 14 years in, and he moves on, you go that to Andrew Luck. I mean, one of the most talked about retirements ever is Andrew Luck retiring in preseason. I think in year 8 or 9. I think the Colts are a quarterback away because I'm gonna keep saying this. They got everything else. They got the running game. They got the tight ends. They got the receivers. They got the defense. If they could get the quarterback, just have to be serviceable. They don't have to be great. You have to be complementary to the rest of the team as well as the defense. And I'm not saying the Colts are gonna be in the thick of things in the AFC South, but they could be a nuisance in the AFC South because while everybody respects Houston, they ain't scared of them. You respect what Houston has done the last 2 years under DeMeco Ryans and C.J. Stroud, but if the Colts can find a way to get a just serviceable quarterback, they got a shot. And like I said, if I was Anthony Richardson and Daniel Jones decided to come here, I would have been like, why is he deciding to come here? Because Joe Flacco played over you in 2024. Joe Flacco, a 40-year-old Joe Flacco, who is 38 days older than Anthony Richardson's mom, if I'm not mistaken, played over him. And if you are Anthony Richardson shouldn't be discouraged, just like we said about Arch Manning. Either this is going to propel him to stardom, or he's going to be an athletic backup for the rest of his career, which, I mean, it's no slouch. I mean, Charlie Batch, to me, had one of the best careers ever. He was a backup for about 15 years. That's a lot of money, for 15 years. But, yeah, I just think that for the Colts, if they can get their quarterback situation right, I don't think their quarterback of the future is currently on the team right now, even though Anthony Richardson got a shot to right some wrongs if he does indeed get to start this year. But we'll see what Daniel Jones can do with an offense that is definitely going to be run heavy, to open up for the passing game, and we'll see.
Okay, Marvin, also GOTWSIM, 15 games in the NFL is bad, but I still think he can play. All right, go ahead, Marvin, and I'll turn over to Candy, then we go to a station break and wrap it up.
Yeah, when Andrew Luck retired, that really set them back. They weren't prepared for that, and that automatically put them in the carousel of quarterbacks. I think Daniel Jones is a guy who was definitely drafted too high, but I think he is a guy who just needs years. Again, we're spoiled by Mahomes and by Lamar Jackson. We've seen young quarterbacks come in here and in 2 or 3 years already have Super Bowls and MVPs. Daniel Jones, I think, has something in him. I think he's a player. I think he needs a situation like this. I wouldn't be shocked at all for the Colts to have a productive season and beat beat whatever their over under number is. Hit the over on that with a good, talented young quarterback and the weapons that Ben just mentioned.
Right.
That's my take. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, hopefully the Colts get it figured out. Candy, you can take a brief take, go to a station break, and we'll wrap it up, and everybody can promote themselves. Go ahead, Candy.
Part of Anthony Richardson's problems is he's been injured, and if you're always injured and not on the field, it's hard to have numbers and hard to have stats. Whether you're practicing or not, it's hard. As far as Daniel Jones, I agree with everybody else. I don't think the starting quarterback or the future is on the Indianapolis Colts right now. I guess I've been really spoiled. I'm a Packers fan. Obviously, we went from Brett Favre to Aaron Rodgers. Now, I'm not saying Jordan loves all that yet, but they have a different philosophy. They have a good way of drafting, letting the quarterback sit and underneath the stars quarter QB and developing them. So I guess Indy, you could take a page out of their book, but that remains to be seen going forward.
All right, with that said, why don't you put my book up there and then everybody promote themselves? That's good enough for me. Let's from microphone tuning into the Enduring Visionary Leaders is what I've written. Hope it's available on Barnes & Noble as well and Kindle. So we can go ahead and everything that's on our screen at the bottom is how you can find us. Candy, make it really quick, and then we got to give it to the rest of these guys. About 90 seconds left to go in the show.
Okay, listen to the microphone tuning into the Enduring Wisdom of Visionary Leaders. It's available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Kindle, Google, and Apple Books. There's also a link on our website, www.southfloridatribune.com, where you can find a plethora of great content. If you like to listen to podcasts, you can find us wherever you get your podcasts. If you want to advertise, call Scott, 954-304-4941. And if you want to be a guest, you can always email us at southfloridatribune@gmail.com.
I taught her to talk fast. She did pretty good, didn't she, Ben?
That was impressive. That was good. That was impressive.
All right, Marvin, go ahead. Larry. Since you have the easiest contact, how do they get a hold of you, Marvin?
Marvin Powell III, Facebook. I'm there. I'm easy to find. Looking forward to interacting with all of y'all. Had a great time.
It was fun. We'll do it again next week. Obviously, you guys know 4 of the topics ahead of time. All right, Ben, go out there and put it out there, our superstar. Go ahead.
Man, you can follow me on all social media outlets at Ben Troop 84. Look, I'm just out here talking trash on these listen on Monday nights. I mean, I'm doing Win the Division on Tuesday nights. I'm obviously over here. Yeah, that's my book, Uncommon and Unfinished, the Ben Troop story with BJ Bennett. Hey man, I'm just out here enjoying life. I mean, I was able to celebrate another year of life yesterday. Man, turned 43 years old. I'm enjoying myself. When people say it's life after football greater than during, I am a true testament to say absolutely 100%.
Well, happy birthday and welcome back, and looking forward to seeing you next Tuesday. You already know what
Yes, sir.
So, all right, Mel, go ahead, and then Tommy, you got to wrap it up, and Yo and I will do it more in detail next week. All right, go ahead, Mel, real quick.
Yeah, happy belated birthday, Ben. You can catch me on all the social media at Mel Farr Jr. You can also follow us, see what we have going on for the kids here in Atlanta, also in Detroit at melfarsuperstarfoundation.org.
All right, Tom, go ahead, Tommy, and once again, Ben, we're so happy to have you on, my buddy. Great stuff.
TomShanahan.report. My Twitter is Shanny4055, and I'm also on Facebook, Tom Shanahan. Buy my books; they're on my website or Amazon and Barnes and Noble.
And you'll see Tommy and I next week. He'll be on the Motor City Mad Mouse show as well. Well, that does it for us here on Inside the Pigskin. We gave you a lot of information on the college side as well as the pro side. So I hope you're all able to take it in. If you weren't, go ahead, rewatch it as often as you want. I make sure I pack these shows with a lot of information. And I'm glad my crew was able to handle every topic because they were, as in the eyes of Jimmy Walker, they were dynamite. I had that much left in me anyway. So, but that said, that does it for the show tonight. We'll see you next Tuesday night, same time. I'm confident we'll have the same crew and Stephen Reichel as well. So take care, everybody. We are done. Enjoy opening weekend in the National Football League. Good night, everybody.